Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Alex Mashinksy, CEO over at Celsius Networks. Alex, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Hi, Jill. Thanks for having me back.
All right, you got it. And last time we met in studio, believe it or not, almost 2 years ago, February 26, 2020, you said Bitcoin gets to 30,000 by year end. It was at 87.78 at that time and touched 30,000 just a few minutes after midnight, Jan 1 on 2021, and has not looked back since. What were some of the key trends in 2021 that played out for your thesis, and what were some of the surprises?
Well, I predicted that Coinbase is going to mark the high for the first half of the year, and we've seen Bitcoin take a correction. We kind of also mentioned that you can see on my Twitter that we're going to hold the 30,000 level, where others were predicting we're going to go lower. So we kind of kissed 30,000 and then went on to new all-time highs. And right now we're seeing a lot of resistance around that 50 to 70,000 range. But I think we're going to break through that and see a blow off top in the first half of next year around the 140 to 160,000 levels.
Yeah, that's quite a bold prediction there, Alex. So heading into 2022, what are your thoughts for Bitcoin? We know the dollar range you think it can go to, but what are the catalysts behind that?
Yeah, so obviously we're seeing mass adoption from the users worldwide. Obviously, that is driving demand. Bitcoin is limited supply. We just had a halving last year, so a lot of this basically increased demand is causing prices to go higher. What we don't know, the piece that we don't know, is really how many people are going to be selling at the different price levels, 70,000, 80,000, 90,000. And based on that, again, we don't know where we're going to hit that final resistance. As long as central banks keep printing money and as long as inflation keeps eating away at the dollar, we're going to see more and more migration to Bitcoin as a safety asset and as a doomsday insurance policy.
Other areas in crypto that are most interesting for you?
So I think the killer app for Bitcoin is store of value. Celsius is focused more on the yield side. We pay yield on 45 assets. I think last time we met, we had less than $1 billion in assets. We now just under 30 billion in assets. So huge growth, 1.5 million customers worldwide. And a lot of the predictions, I'm not a magician. It's not like I can see the future. A lot of these predictions are because we're just watching the activity of our users and we see them continuously accumulating more and more assets. So recently when Bitcoin went down below 50,000, we saw them buy a lot of Bitcoin, accumulating a lot. And that's why we were confident that we will be holding these levels. So I think, again, the rest of the trends for this year and next year revolve around DeFi and NFTs and some of the other derivatives of the Ethereum and other networks that are popping up every day.
Right. And Alex, I want to go back to earning yield for a moment because you have championed earning yield on your crypto assets really early because it's virtually unavailable in traditional bank products. How is Celsius doing that? And we know that you have really increased the assets under management, assets that you're housing. How are the rates determined and how is that business doing?
Yeah, so we just announced recently we paid $1 billion to our community. So that ranks us with the 10 largest banks in the United States. Even though Celsius is this tiny little company with, barely 30 billion in assets, we pay up to 100 times more than some of the largest banks out there. And the reason for that is the scarcity of dollars, the scarcity of these assets in DeFi, right? So because the yield that we pay right now, it's 10% on stable coins. Which is 100 times more than the average in the United States of 0.1%, is because there's such scarcity on these assets and the borrowers, institutions and hedge funds and so on are willing to pay these high rates to take advantage of arbitrage and market making and other activities that they perform. So they're obviously earning much more than 10% a year on such activities. We've recently raised $750 million in our B round from some of the world's best investors. And that was a very strong endorsement of our business model and business practices. And so again, between paying $1 billion in yield and raising this amazing round, that's the second largest round of funding in crypto.
Right.
That puts Celsius apart from almost anybody else who's trying to pay yield.
Yeah, it really is quite remarkable. I mean, for as long as I've been covering you, which I think is 4 to 5 years at this point, to see the exponential growth year over year is quite impressive. And of course, that funding round, not even just for a crypto company, but for any company, is really quite impressive for the dollar amount that you were able to raise. But Alex, I'd like to wrap up here. When you think about some newer conversations you and I have not had, when we think about NFTs, when we think about the metaverse, what's your outlook on those two newer topics?
Well, I think there's still, all these verticals are still looking for the killer app. There's still, NFTs is a technology, and the question is, okay, is it going to be collectibles? Is it going to be large brands? Is it going to be an extension of, for example, sports franchises and so on? So there is, I call it a Cambrian explosion of innovation happening right now, where entrepreneurs and technologists are basically trying everything. And what's going to happen is that we are going to basically figure out what is here to stay and what is transitory. And the capital is going to aggregate around the verticals that are long-term viable business models. I think on Web 3.0, we don't really call it metaverse. Metaverse is like the centralized version of the internet. Web 3.0, which is the decentralized version, we're seeing tremendous opportunity for virtualization, for augmentation, for all these different things that again are being experimented right now, gaming and so on. And again, all of that is living on top of digital assets, on top of the blockchain. So you're going to see a lot of innovation in that space, and you're seeing old school companies like Facebook and new entrants chasing after the next killer app.
All right. Alex, we appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.